Right, so good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Harry Welby-Cook, country partner and master licensee for Action Coach in South Africa, and really a privilege for me today to spotlight and highlight, four incredible individuals and their journey, not just as clients first, but then also becoming coaches themselves, and a very interesting take on the journey. I think a lot of people often become coaches and other people become clients, but quite a unique scenario to be a coach first and a client. So we're going to make sure that we cover through on all of those. We are recording the webinar. It is also being streamed live. And maybe just to kick us off, to make sure that we've got a view of the audience and who we've got here today, is if you can please just also type in where you're from, so we get a good view of where you're from, and we can see who's engaging with us on this platform. There will be time for some Q&A towards the back end. So if you do have some questions, type them in at any stage, and we'll get to them as and when we have the choice to allow us to do that. And we're going to make it interesting and interactive, but we're also going to make sure we finish on time. And honor you with your time and your presence for being here today, but also getting you back to your families as soon as possible. So let's maybe kick off with Luke and start with Luke. Luke, you are in the Midlands and you were a client, but not just a client. You've been a serial entrepreneur. You've been in multiple of your own businesses, and you were both in a retailing and a wholesaling environment when you took on an action coach. So when you chose to work with Patrick in your business, what was kind of the motivation to seek out a coach to help you in your business in the first place?
I think like many business, well, firstly, hello everybody, and thank you, Harry. Nice to see everyone else on the call and my associate coaches. Harry, I think like for a lot of business owners, it's actually desperation. And that was probably the place that I was in that business. We were three partners in a business, and there were some challenges within that partnership that required intervention, and Action Coach came across my sort of radar, and I went in and chatted to Patrick, and the rest is pretty much history. He helped rectify issues in that business and paved the way for me to exit successfully.
So what you exited successfully, you then carried on your own. What were some of the big kind of areas that the coach helped you work on whilst coaching you through that exit?
I think just the team aspect, really, Harry. If you, all businesses, unless they solo run, and very small businesses will have a team of individuals, whether it's an executive team, a management team, you might have a team of technicians, and that team environment hadn't really been looked at properly by a professional to come in and do disc profiling like we do. And to really look at the individuals in the team and say, okay, well, it's a good team fit, or these are the tools you need to interact more successfully as a team. And I think once we had looked at that as a group of three directors and owners, we were able to identify not only our strengths, but where the challenges lay and whether we were ever going to be in alignment. And that was obviously the next process we were taken through was were we aligned, and what goals were we all chasing within that business. And I think very often in that position, you'll find that you've got three co-founders, or two, or maybe more, and they've got different exit strategies or ideas of where they're going to end up. And ours was definitely one of non-alignment, if I can put it that way, which led to me exiting, albeit successfully, and being in a space there where, having done our profiles and understanding one another, we could agree to disagree.
Yeah, and amazing how often in business that misalignment happens. I think ourselves sometimes in where we want him to go and where the business is going, but in particular, an exponential problem when there's founding partners and other people involved. So let's go a little bit to the center of the country. We go to Thabo in the Free State. Thabo is based in Bloemfontein in the Free State. And Thabo, you were kind of involved in entrepreneurship development, doing really grassroots level empowerment and entrepreneur development. And I think yours is a little bit different because you not only took on Didrik as your coach, you also then outsourced some work as part of the program to ActionCOACH and to Didrik to actually deliver as part of your program. So maybe a similar question for you. You know, what was the motivation to take on a coach in the first place?
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Harry. Thank you very much for this opportunity. First of all, you know, let me answer it this way. There's a pattern where I'm concerned, right? I remember when I was in medicine, I was doing second year, and, you know, the tough was got going. And as we are going through our lecturers, the people who are giving us lessons and stuff, there was a lady called Miss Trubich teaching us microbiology. I went to her and I said to her, you know what, I'm not coping. Can you mentor me? That's the first thing. After medicine, I went into music. And when I got into music, when I started singing, I had a vocal coach, a musical coach, Dubriya Stolz from Ayet, those people who know him. Even when I started my musical career then, I had a coach, basically. That's the guy who launched me into the career. So when I got into varsity as well, went into business now, and I started with my businesses and stuff, I had a mentor, Prof. Johan van Zyl. And now, after that, as I got into business, now I'm in business, then I came across Didrik. I mean, as a good coach who went to those potential businesses that could join ActionCOACH. Then he found me, and then immediately it made sense for me to, you know, to actually get a coach. So that's why I'm answering it this way to show that there's been a pattern, because when people ask you, how do you do it? Everything I do where I'm good at, and people ask me, how do you do it? I always have a coach. I think that's the difference. So even in business, I had a coach. I still have a coach now. So, and this is what, having a coach, somebody who knows better than me and stuff. I mean, this is why, I think this is why I've seen success, not just success for that matter. If people look at me at my age and say, you know what, your story, your success, where you at, one would swear that you're over 50 or something. So also that acceleration came because there's always somebody better who knows better than me who's a coach. I mean, even after I became a coach, despite the fact that I've got a coach, I mean, our fellow panelist, Coach Darryn here, he knows how many times I would just pick up a phone and call him. I would call you and all that. So always somebody who knows better than you, but in this case, a coach, somebody who specializes, who knows, and that's the way to go about it. I think nobody should go through life or business or anything you want to excel in without somebody who knows better than you, and that person is a coach. So, yeah.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, if you listen to Thabo's story, the medical doctor, musician, entrepreneur, and at each stage, you know, the importance of having a coach and a mentor to push you for high performance. And I think that's what's always, you know, the theory behind coaching. But Darryn, maybe for you, you were at that level of high performance. You're a qualified chartered accountant. You were MD of Blue Security in KZN, one of the big security players. One could argue that you were at the top of your game. You were at that high performing edge. Why did you feel the need to engage with Molly and actually walk that coaching journey first?
Thank you, Harry. And yeah, good afternoon, everybody. And thanks for joining today's call. Harry, a very good question. I think the bottom line is there's always room for improvement. So no matter how good you think you are, there's always an element of improvement that awaits you. And, you know, what happens is when you're doing something for a long time, you start to become complacent, you get into a bit of a comfort zone, and you need that third party or that external intervention asking you those tough questions. You know, whilst I certainly had shareholders that were asking questions and I had to deliver the returns that they wanted, which we did, and we did well at, there were other things in the business that we weren't really good at. We weren't good at setting goals. We didn't really have a whole lot of goals. So yes, we had a financial budget and a financial target, but there's way more to a business than just the financials. So I think just acknowledging the fact that there's always room for improvement and being open to a third party or an external opinion is a great thing. And I think that's what certainly made me seek out coaching, or make me seek out a coach when I was in that position.
So you covered off on a couple of motivations of why you went in there. So working with Marlene, what was the transformation that you maybe saw within yourself, your team and the business, having gone through that coaching journey?
Well, I mean, certainly, you know, Marlene didn't only work with me, she worked with a number of the team members, which was nice. It was nice for me to be able to send my senior team to somebody else as well, someone that they can offload to, somebody else that they can, you know, brainstorm with other than just me. And so that was a really good thing, and the team enjoyed it. And then, of course, we got Marlene quite involved in the sales side of the business, you know, working with the sales consultants, working with the teams. And that was great. And then, of course, well, the personal development for me was so great that I decided to become a coach. So yeah, certainly there was a lot of value. And that's why even as a successful organization, we didn't shy away from it. You know, we embraced it.
And I think it's interesting that you use that word successful organization, because sometimes the mindset is, well, you know, coaching's for those that are struggling. Yet in Thabo's case, in Luke's case, even though there was misalignment in your case, you know, it was about successful businesses. So Thabo, let's maybe jump back to you. You not only went from a client to becoming a coach, you actually bought out your coach's business. He was moving into back into the pharmaceutical kind of game and the medical industry, and you decided to not only become a coach but buy his business and then, you know, incorporate what you had outsourced back inside your business. So what was kind of the thinking? What led to that decision to go, well, I liked receiving this coaching. Now I actually want to see myself do this full time?
All right. Well, first of all, I came into this business. I'm passionate about people. I wanted to help people. And as you always rightfully say, I mean, life is all about business, you know. So when I got into business and the coaching has helped me, first of all, you know, I've been running this training business to start with. It was more training. So where you train people, they get knowledge, they get credibility. I've partnered with the university. I must say also the university has got this coaching program that they are boasting about, you know, in partnership with MIT University. But everything is so theoretical. So with these guys, we've realized that, okay, we're training you, getting all this, but when it comes to implementation, you don't see that much of success. So having tested it, bringing in the coach to now coach them on performance, on the knowledge that they know so that they can implement what they are doing. That's when we started seeing the acceleration to success and stuff. So with that being said, I knew that, you know what, the whole idea is that you want to help people learn, but be able to do so that they can, you know, they can be the best. But I must say though, there is something about coaching that you cannot find from, you know, even if you study your PhD, I don't think you can find that. Coaching is different. First of all, it's real. You know, you are coached on performance, you are coached on the reality and stuff. I mean, Darren mentioned things like giving your goal settings and stuff. That is not something that is theoretical where you have to write some homework for somebody. It's something that you do practically for yourself. And once I started doing these things and I applied them to myself, they were working. Once we started doing that, as you said, I outsourced the whole coaching to my previous coach, Didrik, and then they started working. So, I mean, how else? And not just that, Harry, is that you see in South Africa now, what is happening is that I think the country is very intentional in developing entrepreneurs, because we know, I mean, we need entrepreneurs. We don't have jobs. Who's going to come up with create jobs? But look at the system. So much money is put in, but how is the implementation? Who is actually developing entrepreneurs? Are people who are not entrepreneurs, who are not in the space, who don't even have the right tools and knowledge to do that? So I wanted to say, you know what, the fact that you talk about previously disadvantaged people, but you feed them crumbs, they still don't get any quality. So I myself, having grown up poor as I was, domestic worker mother, living in one room shack, 4 of us, you know, with my 2 sisters, I always, in my mind, I always knew I'm the best and I wanted the best. So that's why I was always seeking the best. Even when it was coming to the business, the way I was trained out, I was looking for the, you know, the best tools, the best institutions. And if anybody doesn't know, I mean, ActionCOACH is #1 business coaching in the world. So from that mindset, I wanted to help people, but not feed them crumbs. Give them the best that I have, that I've received myself. And that is why I ended up with ActionCOACH. And I must say there was no second option even when I looked at it. So yeah.
And I think it's interesting because you mentioned it both from a university perspective, the theory of training, as well as what we're trying to do in enterprise and entrepreneurship development. And the reality is the authenticity of an entrepreneur who's been there, done that, is part of the world's best, giving of that service a lot more credibility and authenticity. So Luke, your coach helped you create that alignment that was actually misalignment. So we now knew where we needed to go, coached you through the exit of that partnership. You then took a portion of the business out on your own, got that to the point where you looked to sell it. And then you had this brainwave, brain fart, call it what you want. And you said, well, I can actually see myself doing this. So where's the motivation? What inspired you to leave almost a serial entrepreneur journey behind and go, no, I now want to be part of helping others learn these lessons and get these skills and take their businesses to the next level?
I think to answer that question is probably twofold, really, Harry. In the one sense, I think, the beauty of Action Coach is that you're still running your own business. So if you are entrepreneurially driven, you have a business within a greater framework. So you don't have to take a lonely entrepreneurial journey. You've got some great colleagues like the gents here today. You're always available and people to work with. So I think it's a beautiful journey, and you have your own business within a very safe space and with great colleagues. What took me to the space of stepping into coaching and taking on an Action Coach franchise was obviously having worked with an Action Coach and one of South Africa's most successful Action Coaches, and just looking at the frameworks that so many business owners they're not even aware of. It's not even on your radar. When Harry started, when Patrick started talking to me about pestle analysis and things like that, they were things that I'd never looked at in a business before. And so I think as a business owner, that learning journey is so steep when you start working with a coach, and there's that accountability, that you have to start implementing steps in your business. And when you do that, you start seeing the results. So I think it was seeing those results within my own business, or my own family business, that was just so amazing, that enabled me to look at it and say, okay, well, I'd love to share this with many other people, because I've also had business failures. And, historically in my youth, my parents had business failures. And I look back and I think if they had had a coach available to them then, how different their journeys would have been. So that was the key driver. And I look at now, today I had a client who a year ago I sat with in a coffee shop, who was in tears and ready to close his business. And today he's about to open his first franchise, and instead of talking in thousands, he's talking in millions. So, that's the joy of being a coach and seeing people go on that journey, which we all know as coaches, they wouldn't have done without a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, lonely journey on your own, outside perspective, all the good reasons why somebody would take on a coach, and you were proof of the pudding, and therefore found the inspiration to do it yourself. So Darryn, you left, let's call it a cushy job. You vowed not to take your share money and use it and invested in this franchise and gave it all that you've got. You've been very successful, but before we talk about some of those, let's maybe talk about some of the struggles. What, having made that transition from MD of Blue Security to Action Coach, what was maybe some of the main challenges you experienced, especially in that startup kind of phase?
Harry, I don't want to be arrogant in any way, but I didn't have that many challenges, in the sense that I think I was so aware of what this was going to take. So I was so well positioned in my mind that this doesn't happen on its own. It doesn't happen overnight. You've got to put in the hard yard. So my biggest challenge actually was keeping the family balance, because, my wife had just had our second child. And so timing actually wasn't that great. But, timing is never great. When is the right time? There's never the right time. But I decided to make the decision. The family supported that. My wife said to me, go for it, but if it doesn't work out, you have to get another job. I said, well, of course I will. But I was determined to make it work. So I think, I didn't have many challenges because I really put the hard yards in. All I did was sleep and work in the first year, and I was exhausted. I was absolutely kaput. But I got fantastic results. And of course, now it's 1,000 times easier because, you do the hard work in the beginning, you build the systems, you build the team, you build the processes, and then of course it all starts to take shape. So I guess, Harry, my biggest challenge is really just trying to keep the balance between home life and work life, which was definitely out of sync. If I had to go back and do it again now, I don't know that it would be all that different because that's what it takes to build a great business. But I have no regrets because where I sit today, I'm enjoying the fruits of the labor.
And it feels like yesterday. I remember Darren's launch. Rachel was wee baby this big. She was a few months old, and we launched the business. And I remember Cora and his wife saying to me at one stage, a few months down the line, she says, Darren works, and then on the weekends he just sleeps. He's so tired. But the work was worth it because not only South African Rookie of the Year that year, you were Global Rookie of the Year too. So you mentioned it, hard effort up front, and then you have the spoils later on. Thabo, your journey, may be similar. You kind of transitioned, you brought it in to your existing business, and you've just taken to the whole nother level. So much so that, even in your first year of operation, you launched your business in COVID and became Rookie of the Year and Franchise of the Year the year later. Besides the successes, maybe a similar question, where have you found it difficult, if at all? Or what has been less easy if, similar to Darren, you've applied yourself and it's worked? What's been less easy for you?
Okay. No, I think my answer is more like Darren's, where, for example, when I came into this, it was like that. I was a client for 3 years. So it was sort of, I was very prepared to come into the business. So I sort of prepared it, and I didn't want to struggle to start with. So now, talking about starting this during COVID, the very first struggle, I must say, is that, remember when it broke out, that's when I was in Las Vegas while we were busy training. And now I literally had to come back home just before we finished while we were there. So I remember after landing, that was the last flight that landed in the country, and then all the flights were down to that time. So I just made it. So with that being said, now I come back, and remember, now you've got this exciting plan of how I'm going to launch. Luckily, I even had a budget set aside. I already had a list, what's going to happen. So the very first challenge was, now I'm looking forward to set up a nice state-of-the-art, world-class office, bring in these quality clients. Where are they? We are all locked down. And now we have to transition into a digital business. The very first challenge it wasn't difficult for me or for us because, when you are a CEO in a business, you need to have the outlook. We've been talking about fourth industrial revolution. Exactly. So we knew exactly that, okay, this is how we'll transition. This is how our growth will come about, how we will scale using technology and stuff. So the scaling part was not that difficult. The difficult part is these clients now, which you have to also bring on board into the platform, into the digital platform. That was a bit tough. I must say, not just that, motivating the team. Not just that, you come in, you're starting a business, because I remember when I went to Las Vegas, my team was literally left doing the whole recruitment. Like I said, as I knew exactly what I'm going to do when I come back. So I came back, now I've got these 40 clients waiting for me to start. We have to onboard the clients. We have to now bring them into the platform. Not just that, on top of that, some clients are pulling out, with the model that I've been using, the co-funding model. If we're this big corporate that is co-funding the clients here, now they also want to pull out. So that was one of the toughest one. But I must say, I think the transforming the clients into the digital platform was a bit tough. But other than that, like I said, it was a nice challenge to have. The mindset helped a lot, because you knew this is something new, this is a new venture. So even to just do all that, those processes it was actually quite nice for me and the team, but I must say it was quite daunting as well. But the journey has been good. It has, yeah.
So Luke, I'm going to come to you to maybe answer this because it just sparked my thoughts when Thabo mentioned it. Thabo, you said you were a client for 3 years. Darren, for everybody's benefit, how long were you a client with Marlene?
It was just under a year, Harry.
Just under a year. And Luke, how long were you a client of Patrick?
I was obviously a slow learner, Harry. I was with him for about 5 years, I think.
So 1, 3, and 5 years for very intelligent people on the call. So why is coaching a multi-year investment and commitment? Because a lot of people look at that and go, oh, well, surely 3 to 6 months, then it's done. But generally speaking, it's a year plus a lot for most of our clients. What kept you engaged and working and committed and continuing to invest with a coach for 5 years?
I obviously had a lot to learn, Harry. So I think you're constantly learning. I mean, we go through that matrix as coaches and with our clients, conscious and unconscious competence. And, I was just in that space where I didn't know what I didn't know. And there was just so much to learn about business and how basic it is really, but especially if someone's given you a framework to work with. So, and I think you just keep setting new milestones, don't you? I mean, I imagine for Darren at Blue Security or Thabo and you and your business, you reach that milestone and you realize what's possible in working with a coach and with, set frameworks and structures. And, the next quarter, the next year, it's a new goal and something new to chase. So, I don't think successful entrepreneurs or business owners ever stop growing. So I think it's that desire to keep growing. And if you're with the right coach, they keep pushing you in that direction. So yeah, I mean, I think, I was lucky with my coach. I mean, he knew how to work with me. He challenged me consistently and I enjoyed that journey. So, I think you always need a coach in your life to stop you hiding really and to help you get to that next step. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't worked with a coach.
And you spoke about growth a lot. Darren referenced it earlier. He loved the personal growth so much he bought the growth business. Thabo mentioned it. He's still got a coach and always wanting to grow. So for you, Luke, you learned a lot, you applied a lot, and that got you the growth in your own business. Then you got into this business, and the growth journey, the personal development journey is just on another level. So what are some of the real benefits for you personally that this journey as a coach has brought about?
Yeah, I mean, Harry, I've started, sold, closed, bought probably 12, 15 businesses during my, post-school career. And the first one being sort of while I was almost at school. And I can honestly say this has been the toughest business. And I think those are always your greatest rewards, aren't they? When you really have to break through a new barrier to succeed. So I think that has been the one thing. I think this business is the easiest, toughest business around. When you're coaching and you're in the zone, it is easy, and working with people, and when the light comes on for a client and they start realizing what's possible, it's amazing. But at the same time, it's it's building that momentum and getting yourself into that space. So and as tough as it is some days, it's part of the journey that I like to be challenged and that I really have enjoyed. And you're always learning. I think one of the most enjoyable aspects of Action Coach for me has been our various global and annual conferences and being exposed to top coaches and top authors and industry specialists worldwide, and having that audience to then pass on to our clients. And I think that's always challenging you to a new level of performance. So
let's touch on that, Darren, a little bit of what Luke was saying. It's the easiest, toughest business he's been in. And while you were talking, Anton actually typed in here, talk us through the details of the hard work. What does it take? So in that early stage, when it's the easiest, most difficult business, What does it take? What did it take for you to get the business off the ground and to the levels of success that you got it to?
Good question, Harry. I think, so when you start the business, I mean, firstly, you go, ActionCOACH provides absolute world-class training. So the training experience is mind-blowing in so many respects. But the reality is you actually know nothing. Like with anything, you only really get to put it all into place when you're coaching. So you learn on the road. So now you come back from training and you've got all the theory and you're a certified coach, but you don't actually know much. So now you've got to start coaching people to get experience, but you've got to find the people to coach. So you've got to strike that balance between marketing, getting yourself out there, and of course then learning the coaching. Now, as the four of us on the call know, but I'll just say it for the benefit of the listeners, there's three legs to this business. There's marketing, there's sales, there's coaching. And the degree of difficulty is hardest to easiest. So the coaching is the easiest, the sales one's in the middle, and the marketing is the hardest. Now, you've got to strike that balance between finding the clients, coaching the clients, keeping the clients. At the same time, you're also carrying the burden of your own head trash. You're wondering if you're good enough. In coaching, it's a very lucrative business. We make really good money. You charge high fees, and you've got to get over the issue of, in your head, being worthy of those high fees. So there's a whole lot of things happening. So it's just, like with any business, each business has its nuances, and this coaching business is no different. But yes, once you get it right, it's amazing. I mean, and the money you make in this business is phenomenal. So yeah, what it takes in the beginning is getting your name out there. No one knows you. You've got to establish yourself as a coach. You've also got to learn how to coach. So there's a whole lot of balls you're juggling, but it's very doable, provided you put the effort in.
So I want to come back to the head trash just now, because I think in any business, often it's ourselves. It's the distance between our ears that are the biggest obstacle. So we come back maybe to that for everybody. But for you, Darryn, getting going in those early stages, I remember somebody saying to me once, oh no, but it was easy for Darryn. He came from Blue Security, he had this big database. And the reality is you didn't. You started like everybody from scratch. So what were the marketing strategies that worked best for you? Where did you get most of your clients from?
So Harry, right up early, I did some PR. So, I made sure I got myself into magazines, newspapers, wherever, just by, offering free advice, writing columns, doing whatever. So that generated some leads. And then, my number one strategy was to build a database. So I built an email database, which is now today sitting on just over 17,000 business owners. But obviously back then I started from one, and invited those database, the people on the database to seminars, and did a free seminar every month. And that was a great conversion tool. So that got got people signing up. And then as soon as you've got some clients, and as soon as you start to get them some results, bam, the referrals kick in. Now you've got some referrals. Obviously, when you first start, you have no referrals because you have nobody to refer you. So for me, the strategies that worked were, building the database, and obviously networking a lot. I was networking a lot in the beginning. I don't do any networking really now because I'm coaching all day. But I've got team members that network for me. But yeah, so build the database, invite them to seminars. Seminar sells itself. You close the deal, and then you start coaching. And then, after a couple of months, you start getting referrals. So you mentioned earlier on, Harry, about, I remember our call when I still, had my franchise due diligence process with Harry. He was concerned that I would use the proceeds of my share sales and live off those and be comfortable. I said, Harry, you don't know me well enough. I'm not comfortable with that. And in month one, I had to put 20,000 Rand of my own money in. And from month two, I covered my salary as a good salary of MD of Blue Security from month two in this business. So from month two, my full salary was covered. And I was, I didn't have to touch my savings, and I've still got those share proceeds today, and I haven't had to ever touch them. So that's 8 years later. But yeah, to answer your question, those are the marketing strategies that are, used in the beginning and still used today, as a matter of fact.
So I'm going to go around to you, Thabo, and to Luke as well. But, start with you, maybe, Darryn. That one about the head trash. We earn good hourly rates, effectively more than most professional service providers out there. So you spoke about the confidence of justifying your fee maybe in the beginning, but what are some of those anxieties internal anxieties. They're not external, they're not realities in the market. They're real internal anxieties that you've had to work through maybe over the years.
Well, I mean, you're charging people, well, not that we, talk about hourly rates, but it's coming down to $5,500 an hour. So, of course, you've got to be saying, gosh, what the heck do I need to do for this person to justify that kind of rate? And so you start questioning, is it worth it? Are they going to cancel? But once you start to build your confidence and you're starting to see the value that people are getting at, because remember that very fundamental thing, price is what you pay, value is what you get. So the clients are paying us a price. And for that, we need to demonstrate and deliver value. And provided the value is more than the price, they're not going to have a problem to pay the price. So, in the beginning, it's really proving to yourself that you are contributing the value. But then, of course, when you start getting the results for the clients, and especially the monetary results, which I really focus on a lot, then it becomes an easy question to answer because it's black or white. It's no gray. There's no value that I make you feel better today. The value is, how much extra money did you make this month, or how much has your business grown by since we're working together? And that's very easy to measure and to demonstrate. So I think then the head trash starts to resolve itself quite easily. But of course, in the beginning, you do have that anxiety, and you just need to push through it.
Okay. So Thabo, maybe similar for you. You're a qualified medical doctor earning significantly more effectively per hour than you would ever have as a medical doctor. Your journey is still relatively new because it's only just come through 2 years, but maybe the same question for you. What have been some of those internal struggles, those internal anxieties that you've had to deal with in this first kind of 2-year startup phase?
Yeah, the very first one, Harry, is that, you see, I'm very lucky that in my upbringing, I got to grow up as a Black Tswana boy. And I'm going to put it this way. And then at one point, when I was 11 years old, then we moved to town where my mother was working as a domestic worker. And then I grew up literally from 11 up until I finished matric and went to varsity. I was now a Swarburki because now we was living in town. I was living with Afrikaans people, speaking Afrikaans. So now I got to experience the different cultures. So why I'm taking it back there now, what I'm getting into business, and like I said, understanding people's cultures and stuff. I get into, so when I started even with my music business, I was more in the Afrikaans market. Most businesses, I was like, they used to call me a coconut. And I told them, you know what? First of all, I'm not going to sell to people who have a culture of not paying other people. So now here I'm coming with a business and I'm going into the market where my target market, is my own people who I know from cultural point of view, like it is like a norm. People want, but they don't want to give. Now I'm coming with this and this business now. You want business owners. First of all, the target market that I challenged myself, I said, you know what? I am going into that Black African market. And now you have to deal with the mindset. Now, as we are saying, the anxiety was that now the market that I'm choosing is the market of people who are big. Look, if you look at it, and I call a spade is the truth. We have with people here who get into business, who the government promises them, you will get everything. So now imagine you have that mentality of I'm entitled, I can get everything. And then I come as a coach and I'm saying, I'm going to help you, but I'm not giving you everything. I'm giving you knowledge. I want your money in exchange, but you're expecting to just get. So one of those was that, you know what, this is going to be tough. I'm taking on this, but now if I want one-on-one clients, my target market here, first of all, we need that transformation of mind because, all honesty, if you are being honest, I think there's a whole lot of transformation with the majority people of South Africa here that needs to be done before we can have all the things that we want. There's a whole lot of transformation that needs to be done. So that's another 2 anxieties. First of all is that, okay, you go into the market of people who are not going to pay you, but they want to get from you. That's the first thing. Now, you see, the challenge is that no matter what value you show, yes, I agree. But in terms of getting paid, that's one of the struggles. Not just that, now you go into the market as well, where you need to transform people as well, from a culture of, self-reliance, DIY. It's not just to be given, the fact that you are Black, you must be given and stuff. So it's tough. You get a good client, but now you need to transform a lot of them. The third one, which is now it's a challenge that also, it forms part of the anxieties that when you look at the personal analysis, the political environment and stuff, what are we saying here? You get into a business where when you go pitch it, people will go to, this is a white-owned business. You know that nonsense. Then you have a problem, even if you want to work, with the institutions, even if it's government and all that, you get now your BEEs, whatever, all these things. When you think of it like, yes, like how am I going to get work here? Because people look at it that way. Why don't you start something that is African born and all this, But why do you need to reinvent the wheel if you've got something that can accelerate African born stuff and make them better, put them globally? So, those challenges is like the system, the people, the transformation. So it was quite mind-boggling. So it needed me to have a serious self-belief to know that, what, I can do this, believe in myself. Already I believe in the system, I believe in the business, I believe in what I'm doing, and I'll go in there. And I must say, which is a principle. If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe in what you're doing, in anything, forget it. You see people who don't. I mean, they don't make success out of it. So you need to believe in yourself like crazy. People will even say you are arrogant, then be it. But at the end of the day, like, Darryn said, as long as you can show the results. And not just the results. We're talking about results here. We're talking about, impact. But more so, Harry, and I'm so glad I see some of my clients. I've got a cardiac surgeon who's my client in the call. We've got somebody from Cape Town. I call him Steve Jobs, who's here on the call as well. But more importantly, we're building a community of people, who get transformed and go out there and transform others and show, you know what? All you need to do is just get the knowledge, get the best people who know how, and you are A for a way. You don't need a handout from anyone and whatsoever. So, yeah, those were three main, I would say, anxieties that I had. Yeah, yes.
No, and I think typical ones. And I remember a couple of years ago driving along with somebody, and I said, this is a proudly South African business. And they looked at me all funny and they said, but isn't this an American business? I said, well, no, technically it started in Australia, so it would be an Australian business, but this is a South African business because I'm the most proudly South African person I know. And I run my business, and every single one of our coaches run their business, and they're proudly South African. So how can it not be? And it is about yourself. And I think I smile when Thabo shares his anxiety. When our first coach launched in a non-metro, they thought it wouldn't work here. And that anxiety around a certain group of people, a certain type of people, whether they be class, whether they be color, whether they be business sophistication, the mindset is always, people don't like to pay for things. Yet I know Thabo's had many of his clients, albeit started maybe as sponsored clients. He's inundated with requests where people wanting to pay with their own money for one-to-one clients. So it's a normal anxiety that a lot of people have. And interestingly enough, if we look at the three coaches all here, we've got Kloof in Natal, you've got the Midlands, and you've got the Free State. So, that already debunks a lot of myths that people have around the concentration of wealth. Luke, what was it for you? What was the head trash in that journey for you to get over as a coach now?
Sure, Harry. I think it's making peace with the fact that head trash, imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it, is something that's very real for everybody. I think it's firstly understanding that it's not unusual in any new position or even at a high level to experience that. And I think at the beginning of my coaching journey, the challenges that you're going to global seminars, and albeit online, unfortunately for us, but you've got coaches talking to you, you've got 20,000-30,000 hours of coaching. And what they've forgotten about coaching at that stage of my journey, I was still trying to learn or wishing I knew. So I think it's that comparison is probably the head trash, is that you're looking at someone who's that qualified and that experienced, and comparing yourself to them and thinking, sure, can I possibly, do what a Doug Winnie, a coach at that level, Brad himself does. So I think that was the biggest hurdle. And I think coaching takes you through that, doesn't it? Because you'll go and sit, with one of my exec clients is a global CEO of a listed, currently delisting business, 3 billion turnover, 3,000 staff, and he suffers the same things. He says, Luke, I wake up some mornings and I walk into this office and I think, what am I doing here? I can't run this business. So I think when you realize that it's pretty human to have those moments, I think that definitely for me has been helpful, is to look at it and say, okay, well, comparing yourself to someone else is not taking you over the line. And, if it is something that's worrying you, then what do you need to learn, or what's your next step to get you to that level of coaching? But that would sort of be my answer to that question. And, do you have days where it affects you? For sure. But that's no different in any other business I've been in, where I haven't been challenged some days to look at it and say, Crisis, what are you actually doing?
Yeah, and I think I remember on our Monday morning webinar yesterday, one of our Dutch coaches, an action coach in Amsterdam that joins us as a guest on a Monday morning, he said one of the big points at a recent conference he went to was the importance of resilience. And his English isn't good enough to really understand what that is. But I think resilience is the most important element for any business owner out there. You will have obstacles, you will face challenges, you will have the biggest highs and the biggest lows. It's your ability to bounce back and bounce back quickly for any business that is critical. So guys, please feel free to type in some questions. We definitely have some time still for some questions. Maybe just a comment from each of you. You've all been different stages. Thabo, you're 2 years in. Luke, you're almost 2 years in. Darryn, you've been 8 years. You've built a team. Your own wife has just become a coach in your business together with your team. So different kind of experience levels. But what's the value that you see now, having a little bit of the wisdom of hindsight, looking back and saying, well, what was the value and what continues to be the value of joining ActionCOACH as a business instead of staying where you were in your previous role, or doing it on your own, or maybe trying even a different business? What's been the value for each of you? Let's maybe start with you, Darryn.
I think, Harry, one must always play to your strengths. So if I take my strengths, I certainly believe it's people and it's business. And in this business, you get to help people in their business. So it just ticks those boxes for me. But of course, over and above that, it's a great business. The support is amazing. The money is excellent in terms of how good this business can be from a financial perspective, and it's a great job being able to help people improve their businesses and lives. So you get to make a real impact, and it's so nice when you put your pillow on, your head on the pillow at night, knowing that I made a difference in someone's life today, or I made a difference in someone's business. And unfortunately, not everybody can say that about their job. So ActionCOACH, I think, is absolutely unparalleled to any other similar firm in terms of the systems, the tools, the techniques, and the support. So, I'm just so enjoying the journey. I think a lot of people focus a lot on the destination, and of course we should, but I think maybe obsess too much about the destination. And I think we've got to take time out to enjoy the journey. And I'm just really enjoying the journey with ActionCOACH. I'm exactly where I need to be, and I just love what I do every single day. So yeah, that for me is what this represents, Harry.
Yeah, and speaking, to some of the clients last year, all three of you actually had clients in KZN. And when we went through the looting and the rioting, I remember speaking to our clients that had been most affected on the telephone. And some of them literally lost everything. And their gratitude to each of you going, well, if it wasn't for my coach, I'd never get through this. If I know with their backing, with their support, whatever's happened, we'll pick up the pieces and we'll go again. And, that's truly, heart-wrenching stuff when you hear that and the impact that we get to make. Luke, maybe for you, what's it for you? Looking back now with a bit of hindsight, what's been the value for you around joining this business and becoming an ActionCOACH business coach?
Yeah, Harry, I think, I probably err on the side of being a bit of a magpie. And, so I love new technology, new things, and being a coach enables me to live vicariously through my clients and be involved in loads of different businesses and different sectors of our economy. So that's been amazing, is without having to take the risk and decide that I'm going to get into logistics or or something like that. I can go and find a client in that territory and learn so much about their business while growing as a coach and teaching them and helping them grow in their business. So I think that's one of the most attractive things for me about Action Coaches. You've got a great platform, a very recognized and respected brand globally and in South Africa that you can approach. There's no sector that you can't add value. Whether it's executive coaching or taking a startup business, we're in a position where we can go and add value to teams, to individuals, to businesses. And I think the platform that we're given through Action Coach and the tools just makes that so much easier to walk into something that exists and is known. And having started numerous businesses on my own from scratch, I know how hard it is to build that traction and recognition. And like Brad Sugar says, if someone else has done that, to buy a business and turn it around is easier, or to buy something that's known already. So those were the big things for me.
Okay. Thabo, for you, and you've been around Action Coach as a coach for 2 years, but as a client, 3 years before that too, so 5 years. So you've seen it from both sides. You do a range of different levels, both group grassroots stuff as well as high level stuff. What's the value for you?
Yeah, there are a couple of things, Harry. First of all, I would say, they say your habits, what's the saying? You create your habits and then your habits make you or something. So talking about that, first of all, the structure, the habits in this business, that comes with the community. Let me start here. First of all, is the community. You meet great people, crazy people like Luke. You meet principled people like Darryn, like Didrik, my coach. You meet people like you, which is something that I think I'll always say about you, is that I don't know any, whether black or white, proudly South African like you. And that's what you've done. I'm one of those people, one of the best talents we have, highly educated. I can leave the country anytime I want, and I wanted to until I met you, by the way. So I think because of having experienced you being that proudly South African, so it's the community, the people, and it extends into your conferences and whatever. And here's one thing about me, Harry, that aligns with that, is that even in my business, if you walk into my house, if you walk into my business, there's one thing you'll get, it's experience. And I think in this business, you get to experience. You get that experience as a coach, community, people and stuff, the accolades. Here's the thing. As business people, we always say business is a lonely journey. So if you're a business person, you are all by yourself, all you focus on is, clients, getting money, whatever and stuff. Who looks after you? That community of who is rewarding you? You may reward your employees for that matter, but who's rewarding you? So being part of the community as a business person, it's like you're standalone, but you are still able to be recognized under a reputable institution like Action Coach. That itself. Also, the continuous learning, the tech, look where we at. Everything that happened, even during lockdown, look at the kind of support that we got from the global office, the expertise that is there. So that continuous learning, that a community of experts and stuff, priceless, honestly. Yeah.
So one question in here again, and if there are any more, guys, please type them in. I think from my perspective, a relatively quick and easy answer from each of you, because I think you've all got a very specific view on it. The question is, what marketing activities gave you the best return? Doing it yourself or outsourcing it? So maybe just quickly, Thabo, while we're with you, what's the best return? Outsourcing marketing or doing it yourself?
They say, there's that saying, if you want it done right, you must do it yourself. So I would say so far, do it yourself, because even when you outsource, a lot of people would say, I outsource marketing to these marketing companies. If you don't know what you're outsourcing, you don't know what the results are going to be. So rather outsource something that and you know how the results should be. The only thing you need is actually helping hands. So otherwise, but I would say doing it yourself. Yeah.
Luke, what would be your answer?
Doing it yourself, Harry. I think all my clients have come from face-to-face interactions, talking to people.
Okay, Darryn, for you?
Yeah, I think the only part of marketing that you could outsource is the digital marketing. But, I don't see that as a big part of setting up my business. So yeah, do it yourself, without a doubt.
And I'm always reflective when people talk about marketing, and particularly in the business to business space. I think of Jeffrey Gedimer, the Canadian sales guru, and he says, people do, all things being equal, people do business with those they know, like, and trust. All things being not so equal, people like doing business with those they know, like, and trust. And I think, easy answer from all three of you, and very much aligned. I think just a question that came up early on, Thabiso, every single one of the coaches here, when they were clients, were on weekly coaching. So they would have had 4 coaches a month, 4 coaching slots a month, 1 hour a week. And that's what they would have worked with, depending on their kind of size. Yeah, a good question here from Mbongeni, asking, is it a one size fits all? A guy from running a bakery, a guy selling second-hand tires, a taxi owner, I think you did touch on it earlier on, Luke, but is it what the perception is that you coach any business? So maybe, from each of you, just briefly, Darren, give us 3 or 4 different types of clients that you currently have, and we'll ask the same of Thabo and Luke.
Yeah, so type of clients, I've got a bakery, Mungeni, so that and I've got a tire retailer, so I can talk about that one as well. I've got an engineering firm. I've got a couple of accountants I'm coaching. So yeah, all types of businesses. Can I expand on that answer, Harry, or must I just give? Okay. So I think here's the thing, and it's a very good question, because we often get that from prospective clients. And here's the answer. It's not a cookie cutter approach. So Action Coach gives you a framework. That framework applies to every single business. It's the skill of the coach to take you where you need to go within that framework. So you get a great framework. It's absolutely not a cookie cutter, because what's important to you is not going to necessarily be important to the next business, because every business is different. The principles are all the same. Every single business needs marketing. Every single business needs sales. Every single business needs to look after their numbers. Every single business person and people need to manage their time. Every single business needs systems. Every single business needs a strong management team. Every single business needs to deliver world-class customer service. So the principles are absolutely the same. The nuances and the details differ from every business. So I hope that answers Mungeni's question. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Darren. Luke, for you, what types of businesses have you got as clients?
Yeah, Harry, anything from big dairy farmers to hardware stores. Sure. I've got, obviously, in this district, agriculture's quite a big field, feed makers, smaller businesses. I've got, smaller retail outlets. So, and then, an exec client who's in the media space and, with 3,000 employees. So it varies hugely. And, like Darren was saying, I mean, the things that affect business are the same. Team time money is what we always talk about with an Action Coach. And it doesn't matter whether, that's your own little retail outlet or whether it's a massive organization and you've got 40 executives reporting into you, it's that's what you're managing. And so I think there'll be different aspects for each business, and that's what makes coaching so rewarding and exciting. Is every new client comes and they've got a new challenge and they've got different areas they want to learn and grow in.
Maybe, Harry, if I can just add there, every single business is in the same business. We're all in the same game. We're all in the business of profit making.
Yeah, and some guys are mastering the art of loss making or maximizing neutral, and you have to engage that first gear, which is called profit. Thabo, for you, just a couple of different range of clients that you have.
Okay, majority ICT, most definitely. That's my field of interest. But I mean, I've done a lot of agriculture as well, and your education businesses, you've got doctors here. Like I said, I've got my specialist for that matter. I've got lawyers, so different fields. And also maybe just to say, I think what Mungeni was saying there, maybe just to add, I think Darren summed it up. But is that thing of all of us are technicians. You come as a doctor, you're a technician. I mean, in the medical field, or whether you're a lawyer staff, business is something else, which is what all of us want. And as coaches, I believe we are specialists in that. It doesn't matter which field you are, taxi owner, like he said, tires, bakery, whatever. You know what? I think Darren said it all, but I just wanted to say that thing of, being a technician versus what you are doing. Business is something else. The fact that you go into a business here as a doctor doesn't mean you know business. So, yeah, I think that's, yeah.
So Mgeni, that obviously answers the question. You can see a whole range. And I think just in what Luke and what Thabo was saying, if you put agriculture and ICT next to each other, that's probably on polar opposites sometimes of the perception, at least, of business and everything in between. So quickly for Anton, your question around HR managers, our focus 99.9% is entrepreneurs. So we might work down, much like Darren did too when he was engaging with Marlene. He brought her on board to also work with some of his execs, but we generally coach the entrepreneur down, the CEO down. We have a little add-on executive coaching program, which focuses more at C-suite corporate execs, but it's a tiny portion of the business, almost non-existent to even reference. So that will deal with that one. So if you're sitting here listening to this and going, well, I like these guys, Luke in the Midlands, Darren in Kloof in Natal, Thabo in the Free State, and you're thinking, geez, I need a coach. As Thabo said right in the beginning, if you want to excel at anything, you're probably only going to do it if you've got a really good coach and mentor. And in these gentlemen in particular, you've got both. So definitely reach out to them and you'll find their details on our website. You might be a client yourself going, they've sparked a little bit of an interest here. I also want to be able to contribute. I also want to be able to be part of other people's success after having been a recipient of it myself. Well, then you know exactly what to do. Let's talk. And I know many of you are saying, well, I'm looking at this as that kind of next career, that next move, that next shift. I've learned a lot of things over the years. I've gained a lot of experience. How do I contribute to the development of entrepreneurs while still running a business for yourself? And I think all three gentlemen highlighted that quite clearly, that it's still a business that they're running. Then hopefully this has been insightful for you to see that, we really live what is our little tagline: real people, real results. And gentlemen, thank you for sharing your time, sharing so openly, sharing your wisdom, and to everybody else who joined both live, who will listen to this on the recording, or maybe even joined on Facebook Live. I hope it's been valuable, at least investment for your time, and we look forward to engaging with you. Have a great evening, enjoy the week, and remember, April's a short month. Lots of interruptions, which should ensure that you spend time with yourself, with your family, but also do what's necessary in your business. Have lots of fun. We look forward to engaging soon. Cheers, everyone.